Hey everybody, happy Thursday, happy Holy Thursday. Come on in here, everybody, just come on in. Send me some love so I know that you're here. How great it is to be together on Thursday. Happy Holy Thursday. We are here together back in my home chapel. You can see my interfaith altar behind me. And I'm self-isolating for a few days. And really just so happy to be able to look outside and see how wonderful the weather is, and knowing that we have so many wonderful options right now to truly be in this retreat, spiritual retreat state of mind, to be incubating spiritually, to be in touch with what's inside that needs love and tenderness and caring and compassion so it can be transformed. There's so much frustration that I'm hearing about. I'm hearing that, okay, it's been long enough. I'm so frustrated. Anger is coming up. Upset is coming up. All these things are coming up. And I say, yes, bring it on, bring it on. This is the time that we have to look deeply, not just to see what we don't like about ourselves or about our past or about something we haven't forgiven, but to transform it, not to just look at it, but to pray about it, to be with it, to allow it to be given the light and the love that is needed for transformation to take place, so that we don't have to carry it around anymore, that we don't have to feel burdened by solitude. Because to be burdened by solitude means we don't like what we're feeling or seeing or knowing. So let's be together tonight with the understanding that this is really a wonderful opportunity, whether we like it or not. And believe me, there are things that I've had to look at lately that I'm like, it would have been easier to just use up my time out on the beach or somewhere else. But having to feel, having to be in a place of feeling allows us to rise higher, praise and pray, to see deeply, and to be responsible for what we see, to take responsibility for what it is that we're looking at, and to allow it to bring us to a higher consciousness, to a crossroad of do better and be better. So all that said, just as a welcome, just to say hello. And so now we take this time to truly be connected with our hearts and our minds. Our opening song, let's open up our consciousness, our hearts, for the expansion that comes when we truly connect to the divine. And so we begin with our opening song, Here's My Heart, Lord. And I invite you to take this moment to just take a deep breath, put your hand on your heart. And this time is just about you and the divine. Not about me, not about anyone else who's on the line. Just you, taking this time to truly connect and to ask for your heart to be opened. Here's my heart, Lord. Offer your heart.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. I am found, I am yours, I am loved.
good time to now just put your hand on your heart and listen to these words. Be deeply connected. It's our time to be together, but also to be truly connected to Spirit. Deeply breathing, deeply listening. Feeling gratitude welling up in our hearts. Wherever you are, raise your voice. Let's sing the last chorus together. Just belt it out. Here's my life. Next line. So please open with that song so that we remember why we're here, that it's really about having that connection and allowing ourselves to listen deeply to the voice of Spirit. And speaking of listening deeply, for those of you who are on my daily text, I had sent out a text earlier this week saying that I was going to concentrate today's lesson on lesson 131. And interestingly enough, the concept of listen kept coming up for me. Like, it would be like a Facebook post or a meme or something that I came across, and it kept saying, listen to Spirit, listen to Spirit. So I thought, why am I getting this message over and over again? And it turned out that I was really drawn to another lesson. So instead of lesson 131, which, maybe if I have time I'll review a little bit at the end, but I was really drawn to today's lesson, because today's lesson is vital. It's a vital concept and a grand accomplishment in terms of where A Course in Miracles is wanting to take us. So I'm going to be reviewing pretty thoroughly today lesson 134. Lesson 134, which says, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Now, remember, I started before the song, excuse me for continuously looking down, I don't have a human helper today, but I do have, my neighbor calls him my altar boy, I do have Ernesto. Ernesto's here. So for those of you who have been kindly complaining about the lack of Ernesto sightings, he's here tonight. And he's full of love and full of great energy and a bit sleepy at the moment. So he's here, and so I was apologizing because I have to keep looking down on my own tonight to manage all the technology, so I'll be a little bit all over the place. Anyway, that's kind of usual. So lesson 134, I think, is such a great lesson because as I was starting out our conversation today, there were things that had come up in spiritual incubation, also known as quarantine. But during this time of spiritual retreat and incubation, there are things that come up. And you might think, or maybe I think, that I've forgiven people and things and circumstances from my past, and then I start noticing stuff come up. Even like little conversations that I never got to have, closures that I was not able to accomplish. And realizing during this time that I still have some stuff left over, and really glad that I can now address it internally and spiritually through spiritual practices. So this lesson came as a result of me noticing those things and then listening to the guidance that tells me that this is really where we need to concentrate our time and our efforts around healing is in forgiveness. Forgiveness is essential, it's vital, it's such a big, important aspect of all that we have to do on our spiritual path. And most paths and religions and spiritual concepts will talk about the importance of forgiveness. And A Course in Miracles takes it even a step further, because it doesn't just talk about forgiving others, it talks about forgiving ourselves and forgiving the concepts that we have about how other people should be, forgiving ourselves for creating such illusion and a series of judgments and having fear and all of that. So when we talk about illusion, and a lot of the mystic paths talk about illusion, it's not that we're not interacting in life, it's that it is not ultimately all that there is. And that as we move through our spiritual practices, we want to reach that place of finding some peace with what is, as it is, and as it was, so that we can move forward in a way that allows us to know that we can be peaceful and kind and compassionate. We don't have to worry about those knee-jerk reactions anymore, because we've looked at them, we've seen what it is, we've seen what we were made of, and we see what is the result of all of that. You know, there's that old saying that says, we're not who we're gonna be, we're not who we want to be, but thank God we're not who we used to be, right? And that's how we want to come out of this, not who we used to be, but through the blossoming and the gestation of creating a new way of thinking. But first we have to address all that other stuff. We have to take responsibility for what's going on inside of ourselves. So all of that to say, lesson 134 is a great lesson in forgiveness. Now, if you don't have your book, don't worry, because I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. But I do want to read this to you and with you. I want to discuss it. I'll be keeping up to see if you have anything that you would like to ask me. I'll be checking for that. All right? So, yeah, happy to see Ernesto. Yes, I know. All right, so it says, let us review. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is, lesson 134. It says, let us review the meaning of the word forgive, for it is apt to be distorted and to be perceived as something that entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath. Right? Because we think that, oh, we're putting ourselves in this position of judge and jury, and that we have this righteous wrath, and now we have to give it up. Right? That the Course is telling us to give it up. Well, the Course is also telling us that that wrath is coming from something that we've turned against ourselves in the first place. In order to find peace, we're not sacrificing anything. In order to find peace and concentrating on the idea of forgiveness is not saying that anything that was done was okay. It's saying that I have a way to find peace with myself, with my life, and as I move forward in it, regardless of what has happened. It is spiritual practice, and that's why we're doing this together. Okay? So it's saying, in such a view, in that view of having to give up our wrath, it's saying that forgiveness must be seen as eccentric folly. And this Course appears to rest salvation on a whim, meaning that we seem to think that we are the ones who can make the determination of someone else's karma, salvation, personality, or sacred path, whatever it is that we think we have a right of. But it's really just about coming back to what it is we are going to do within ourselves. So it says, this twisted view of forgiveness means it is easily corrected when you accept the fact, this view of forgiveness is easily corrected when you accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true. Pardon is not asked for what is, what does that mean? The ultimate truth is who you really are and who that other person's circumstance really is. right? So what we're learning to do on this ultimate non-dualistic spiritual mystical path is to learn a way of seeing beyond the circumstances of the moment. So we all have fears that are coming up right now, right? We have fears, we have concerns, we have issues around the pandemic. And there's going to be a time when we will know, our soul will know the part we played in all of this, right? Not in a woo-woo sort of way, but in a truly sanctified sort of way. You know, that way of being connected to spirit in a way that allows us to know that all that's going on here, all that's just right here in the walls of earth, is not really all that we are. And it's not all that we will experience in consciousness. So that's why forgiveness is so important, because if we get so caught up in the details of this situation that we see, we lose the perspective of what is true, of what is truly our connection to spirit beyond the shadows and the tricks of light of life. I want to get past that, because it's really the only way to find peace. And with your peace being disrupted now, with the earth being sort of shaky beneath you, your faith being shaky, it's a great time to believe beyond your circumstances, to believe beyond just whatever you're seeing right now. That doesn't mean don't take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself. Wear your mask. I cap my head every day at work. We are so careful when we go out, and Broward and Dade County are opening on Monday, but we still have to take precautions. We have to take care of ourselves. I'm currently self-isolating. So it's not about not taking care of the details of this life. It's that while we're taking care of the details, we're still seeing a bigger picture. We're still looking deeply, not at what our physical eyes are seeing, but what our internal third eye, loving eye of compassion, and loving eye of loving spirit and trusting spirit, that's what we're really deeply looking at. Because everything else is what we have to do. We have to get up every day and face whatever's out there. But whatever is out there cannot truly control what's in here. And that is the ultimate truth. That is the truth that we're striving for. So let's move on. Now, if you have your book, I'm zipping over to paragraph 7 in lesson 134. It says, forgiveness is the only thing that stands for truth in the illusion of the world. It sees the nothingness and looks straight through the 1,000 forms in which they may appear. It looks on lies but is not deceived. It does not heed the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merely says, my brother, what you think is not the truth. It's a gentle path. Forgiveness is a gentle path to look beyond what our eyes may see, to the truth of love and light that stands as the truth of who everyone is. And I know sometimes it's hard to think that way when you watch the news and you get particularly upset or triggered by someone or something, and you're fearful. You're fearful because everybody's vulnerable right now. And because of that vulnerability is all the more reason to get centered in spirit and in your spiritual practices. Now, paragraph 11. It says, across this bridge, it talks about this bridge to heaven. It says, across this bridge, as powerful as love which laid its blessing on it, all our dreams of evil and hatred and attack brought silently to truth. They are not kept to swell and bluster and to terrify the foolish dreamer who believes in them. He has been gently awakened from this dream by understanding what he thought he saw was never there. So I hope you'll go back and read every line of this lesson, because it's really a gentle reminder that just like if you have a child who's dreaming and you look at that child and you think, okay, I want to soothe you. I don't want to shock you awake. I want to soothe you so that you don't fall victim to your imagination. right? There's going to be a time when we will have a larger perspective, a fuller picture, and we'll be able to understand. We can trust that. We can trust that. Okay. Now, paragraph 13. It says, forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. So it's a practice, it's a spiritual practice. It's something that we want to get into a routine, into our heads, into our minds, into our hearts, to continuously come back to this idea that whatever is upsetting me, I can forgive. Whatever is upsetting me, I can think of it as a prompt, as an opportunity to move into a mindset of forgiveness. Why? Because ultimately we want peace. The Course is always telling us God's will for us is perfect happiness, perfect peace. And the way to that peace is by the practice of forgiveness. That's one of the ways, but it is amazingly appropriate, accurate, and effective. The way to peace is to unburden ourselves of our upsets and our anger. And how do we do that? It's not a snap of the finger. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly you have nothing that you've ever thought of that can upset you. I mean, God, I would love that to be the truth. But it's usually through our spiritual practices. Right? Just like when we want to build up our bodies, we had a few weeks where we were doing our production with Rusty John over at Body Tech, which is actually a private gym. And the people who go there, they go there because they want to practice a way to build their bodies, their muscles, and they do it day after day after day. And now they're very kindly putting their exercise routines on live stream. Body Tech, Wilton Manors, and Audacious Productions. Rusty John is producing those exercise routines. But in order to build up our bodies, we have to practice all of that strenuous stuff. Sometimes strenuous, sometimes not. Sometimes yoga, sometimes other things. But it's things that allow us to build our bodies and strengthen our bodies. It's the same thing with spiritual practice. You can't just read a book and then decide, okay, that makes sense, and then tomorrow whatever happens is going to trigger me and I'm going to forget it all because I haven't incorporated it into a way of being. Once we incorporate it into a way of being, then it becomes our way of living and responding lovingly to the world with this concept and this idea of forgiveness. So it must be practiced. Rusty said it's just too much work. Rev Lori, it's just too much work, except for the stuff that's easy. Right? Because once you do the hard stuff, you start getting through it, and you start feeling that it's not so hard anymore. Just like body work, just like yoga. There's people who go to yoga class and they're like, oh my God, I can't go deeper into this posture. And then a few weeks later, next thing you know, you're in warrior pose and you're deeply into it and you're like, wow, I never thought I could do it. So yes, it is work. Every day we have to do something, so we might as well do the thing that's going to ultimately bring us peace. Right? So it's just like anything that we do that is ultimately worthwhile. It takes time for us to get there. It takes time for us to do what has to be done. There's beautiful paints. I've seen some beautiful artwork in my home, and none of it was done by somebody throwing paint on the canvas. It was done stroke by stroke by stroke. Now I know some of you are going to say there are some artists who do that, but I'm talking about something that you can identify. Some beautiful flower arrangement being held by a loving person who's walking in a field. That was created stroke by stroke by stroke by paint. I went to a gallery once in Mexico where Diego Rivera had some of his original pieces there. And I went up and I was looking at one and I noticed that there was just like a little discoloration. And I asked somebody about it. I did some research on that particular piece. And they said that he obsessed about it so much and he kept going back to this one part that you can actually see, and I did see the overlay of paint where he felt like it wasn't exactly the way he wanted it to be. It's no different than us. We're painting a picture for ourselves. And we're imagining that picture being that, you know what, when I do the practice, I can see that I can get through the day without being triggered. And I'm going to believe that of myself. And I'm going to believe it, I'm going to practice, and I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to practice. And then the day will come when something happened that used to trigger you and it's not triggering you anymore, and then you realize that you have arrived there. And all that hard work was worth it, because now you are at peace. You are feeling peaceful. I wish that for all of you. I wish that for me as well. I wish that for all of us. That's what we're doing. That's where we're going. Okay, so then it says, forgiveness must be practiced. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence, right? It's up to you. You have to do it. It's kind of like, you know, if someone says, hey, chips made from sweet potatoes are delicious. Well, you won't know that until you taste it, right? There's some things that cannot be given to you to know until you find out for yourself. Okay, so it says here, there is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws you follow, nor the thought that it reflects. It is alien in the world of your reality, and yet it joins your mind with the reality in you. So what that means is that something in you knows that this is true. There's a part of you that knows this because you've already experienced it at some point in your life. Something has occurred and you can think back and say, oh yeah, I can remember. That's no longer bothering me. So why is this thing bothering me? Because the same work has to apply. The same amount of time and discipline has to be applied. So it says, today we practice true forgiveness, that the time of joining be no more delayed, for we would meet with our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps, lightening up the way for all our brothers and sisters who follow us to the reality that we share with them. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour, twice a day. Did anybody do that today? Well, we're going to do it for a little while now. That we spend with the Holy Spirit who understands the meaning of forgiveness. Then, this is what we're going to do. We're actually going to have a little bit of time to practice this. Let's see, Kathy Byron. Kathy Byron, I have to tell you, is the oldest and most dearest friend. She and I were second generation friends. Our moms were friends, best friends and neighbors. And then Kathy Byron and I grew up together. We've known each other since infants. So it's almost like she's like a twin sister. Hey, Kathy Byron. So anyway, she says, if we know what's best for us, why do we resist it? You know, that's a really good question. We resist it because we think we're going to lose something. Maybe we think we're going to lose our dignity. Maybe we think we're going to lose our right to righteous indignation or our upset. And it's something that we hold on to, just like when we give up sugar, we find a way to still eat sugar, and it's because we want it, right? We want what it feels like when we hold on to an upset about somebody, because we think if we let go of it, we're saying that they're okay, that what they did was okay. So try and differentiate that and try and realize that the resistance comes from somewhere deep inside of you that feels afraid of truly letting something be what it was and to grow from it. And we're all in that same boat. We all have a little bit of that we hold on to. We resist forgiveness because we have a voice. We have two voices, right? We have the voice of the ego, we have the voice of the Holy Spirit. The voice of the ego is the voice that created our personality, that created our subconscious programming. There's so much resistance to this very process, which is why we just take one step. We just take a step. And you know what? We're going to actually do a practice right now. We're going to do a practice right now. And this might be helpful. But anyway, to answer your question, I hope I'm answering your question. The resistance is very natural. We're all very resistant to certain things because we have a pretty strong idea that what happened was wrong, and that if we forgive it, then then we will be wrong, or that we're justifying someone else's behavior. Now let's not do that. You know, there's a lot of people who can come into our lives and be unkind. That doesn't mean we have to keep them in our lives. That doesn't mean that we have to join with them in their unkind opinions if they have an unkind opinion. What it means is we have discernment. We have discernment to love ourselves first, and to forgive ourselves first, right? This is a process that comes through us and then back out into the world. Into us and then back out into the world. Ultimately helping ourselves. Right? People who've been through the recovery movement and 12-step programs, they know that it's really easy to hang out with an old friend and just chat and have a good time. But when that friend starts saying, well, come on, just have a drink. Just have one drink. There's a part of you that knows that you can love that friend from afar now, that you need to step back. You need to step back because you don't want to fall down back into an old way of being. Same thing with our spiritual practice, same thing with forgiveness. We want to move to a higher consciousness. And that higher consciousness is hidden behind some dark clouds. And we're trying to move past those dark clouds. We're just like right now, we're about to have a storm in Fort Lauderdale. We just want to see past those dark clouds, because those dark clouds are not going to convince me that there's not a blue sky beyond them. It's just a moment in time. And so let's have a little bit of a practice. So this is what you're going to do, everybody, not just Kathy Byron, everybody. So you're going to think of choose somebody or something or a situation that you know still triggers you, that you know has not been released. But this is how the Course asks you to do it. It says, choose one brother and catalog his sins, and that says sins in quotes, as they cross your mind. Be certain not to dwell on any of them, but realize that you are using his offenses. Briefly consider all the things, the unkind things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for the same thing that I'm condemning him? Maybe yes, maybe no. Either way, the forgiveness piece needs to take place. So it says, let him be free from all the thoughts you had of sin in him and prepare the way to freedom. If you've been practicing in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting, a lighting of weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of relief. Forgiveness must be practiced for every day, through the day, for there will be many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this and tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. No one is crucified alone, and that no one can enter heaven alone. So here's the practice. You're going to bring somebody to mind, and I'm going to play a song. And while this song is playing, you will listen to the words. Close your eyes. There's no visual for this one. I'll just put up a picture. Listen to the words and do the practice, okay? Meaning, you're going to listen to the words, and you're going to allow the words to become a part of your meditation on forgiveness. Let the words move you through your opportunity right now to bring someone to mind and to work through whatever it is that comes up in you as a result of thinking about this person. So what the Course in Miracles says is that when you think of this person and you condemn them, you have the opportunity to shine some light on them, and then let that light be reflected back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you start to relieve them of the darkness you're maintaining over them. Because don't forget, just because you haven't forgiven for someone doesn't mean that they haven't gone on to live happily ever after. So forgiveness is what trips us up, not the other person, right? There's a lot of people we haven't forgiven that either maybe they've passed away or they've gone away, and so it really is for us to find healing. Okay? So listen to the song, and if you would all just take a nice deep breath, put your hand on your heart, exhale, bring yourself to a meditative state of mind, and listen to the song.
It could have been yesterday, might have been a year ago, or another life. There's a lesson they can teach us, and that's how they help us grow. There is a reason they touch our lives, and the mind can't understand it, but the soul is wise. And I forgive you for whatever you may have done, and I ask for your forgiveness so that we may both move on. No more judgment, no more blame. For in spirit you and I are both the same.
In spirit, you and I are both the same.
Stone by stone,
Stone by stone,
brick by brick,
brick by brick,
one by one, we will make them fall.
one brick at a time.
Step by step, day by day, heart by heart, we'll break down this wall. Heart by heart, we'll break down this wall.
So I hope that you were able to do that meditation and not be distracted by my graphics. I was thinking Rusty must be rolling his eyes somewhere with my very rustic idea of creating graphics for you. That last one, if you saw it with the heartbeat going through it, was from a certificate I made for the nurses for Nurses Week to thank them for the work that they do at our facility. So this exercise is really vital, and the song is telling us to just break it down bit by bit. You know, it's a process. We have to be gentle with ourselves and lovingly look at our upset, you know, almost as if we can be outside looking in at it, and allow it to dissipate in intensity over time. Now, a backup for this lesson is chapter 26 in the text. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it, because I'm going to be jumping around a little bit in chapter 26. Again, an excellent chapter if you're going to really be taking some time to read this chapter. I would recommend that you start with section 3, because this is the section that I'm going to be referring to now. In the second paragraph of chapter 26, section 3, paragraph 2, it says, "There is a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, but when you reach it apart from time." You see, it's not about, oh, let me see how I'm doing today. It's about a shift that occurs within you. It's just about a sensation and a recognition and a realization that something within you has changed. Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet, and all illusions are laid down beside the truth, where they are judged to be untrue. This borderland is just beyond the gate of heaven. So A Course in Miracles refers to heaven often. Sometimes it talks about a lawn to heaven. Sometimes it talks about doors and gates. And it gives us a lot of visuals. And I like that because regardless of what your belief system or what religion you came from, it's just a way for us to maintain a connection to spirit by being able to see ourselves moving past the limitations of our daily life to a place beyond this, to a place of true connection with spirit. So now I'm going to be reading paragraph 1 from section 4. It says, "Forgiveness is this world's equivalent of heaven's justice. It translates the world of sin into a simple world where justice can be reflected from beyond the gate behind which total lack of limits lies. Nothing in boundless love would need forgiveness." Imagine Imagine if we had true, boundless love, then what would there be for us to forgive? Because we would see everything for the truth of what it is. We wouldn't be standing in judgment. We wouldn't be projecting our own fears and our own upsets. Okay, now, here's another paragraph I found that I thought you would like. This is in section 5, paragraph 1. It says, there are two teachers only who point in different ways, and you will go along the way your chosen teacher takes you. Which is your chosen teacher? The voice of the ego or the voice of spirit? In the Sufi tradition, they say there's angels that sit on our shoulders, and they're whispering to us. And we might have seen that on movies or something where it's a good angel and a bad angel. In Sufism, it's not, they're both good angels, but there's like, you can look one way and say, oh, what is that voice of the ego yelling at me to do? But what is the voice of spirit whispering? That's why listening is so important. That's why meditation and taking time and quiet is so important. Okay, so it says there are two teachers. There are but two directions you can take while time remains and choice is meaningful, for never will another road be made except the road to heaven. You but choose whether to go toward heaven or away to nowhere. Take the road to nowhere. Nothing you undertake with certain purpose and high resolve and happy confidence, holding your brother's hand and keeping step to heaven's song, is difficult to do. It isn't difficult as long as we're determined to keep our eye on the ultimate prize, right? It's just like, I don't know, I've never actually known an Olympian, but I know people who've run triathlons and different things like that, and they talk about, how hard it is to get to where it is they want to go. But they keep their eye there. They keep their eye on the ultimate gold. The golden prize. All right. There is a distance you would keep apart from your brothers, and this space you perceive as time because you still believe you are external to him. This makes trust impossible. That's why we build barriers, why we build judgments, why we have so much fear. And you cannot believe that trust would settle every problem now. This is a great line in A Course in Miracles that should be tattooed somewhere. Trust would solve every problem now. Imagine if you had total trust in who you are, and total trust in who Spirit is, and just total trust that everything is unfolding as it could be, how much easier it would be to forgive, how much easier it would be to move forward with confidence and courage. And we would not be saying, oh, but this is so hard, because we would have total trust. Maybe our bodies would feel stressed, maybe there would be a little bit of fear along the way, but ultimately we would have trust, and that would solve every problem. Yeah, take a deep breath on that one. Whew, that's important, right? That's just important to know. Okay, so here's the last line that I want to share with you. Then we can wrap things up. This is amazing, this one, because you might have gotten a little bit of a hint because I sent this to you in the text today. It says, the holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. And they come quickly to the living temple where a home for them had been set up. There is no place in heaven holier. So you might say, well, I don't hate. It wasn't about hate. So, semantics. It's about understanding that when we can forgive, when we do forgive, when we finally release ourselves of the burden of whatever it is we were holding on to, a holiness has occurred. A holiness has occurred. We have created a holy moment and the holiest spot on earth. Imagine that Spirit, God, love is so open to who you are that when you perform an act of love so grand, so miraculous, that you find peace within yourself because you've released some hatred, some anger, some lack of compassion, that heaven says this is now the holiest spot on earth. That's so beautiful. And it's just a choice. a choice that we work toward. So I'll end with this, which I promised you from the beginning. No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. So if we are seeking to reach the truth, and we are truly applying ourselves, we are truly making a dedicated effort, we are doing our spiritual practice, we are noticing when we are prompted, meaning tempted to judge someone, to hold on to anger and to the lack of forgiveness, that we can remember that, wait a minute, I'm going to search for truth. I'm going to search for true dismantling of this ego of mine that is holding me in prison, a prison of my own making. I cannot fail to find the truth if I am truly dedicated to seeking it. I seek it with all my heart, with all my dedication, with disciplined practice, to allow those prompts to make a miraculous change of thought within me. Not to beat myself up for having them, not to beat somebody else up for having them, but for taking the time to truly allow a change to occur. There's two parts to a miracle. The first part starts in our mind and the way we are thinking and the decision to change our thinking. The second part is action. It's a maximal expression of love. It doesn't mean you have to call somebody up and say, oh, hey, I forgive you for what I've been holding up against you. No, that's between you and your God. The maximal expression of love is something you do within yourself to allow that healing to occur. So today I seek and find all that I want. My single purpose offers it to me, because no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. Put out your hand and see how easily the door of heaven swings open with your one intent to go beyond it. This is a beautiful line. Angels light the way so that all darkness vanishes, and you are standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand all things that you see. A tiny moment of surprise, perhaps, will make you pause before you realize the world you see before you in the light reflects the truth you deeply knew. We forget when we wander away, but when we come back to the truth, it's like these doors of heaven open up to greet us joyfully, happily, lovingly. So let's end. We all need to take a nice deep breath. I'm so grateful for your presence here today. I'm so grateful for your presence every time that we are together, every Thursday. Every Thursday, so sacred to me. I'm going to end with a song that I think you're going to enjoy. It's called Amadeo. Amadeo is Italian, and ama means love, Deo means God. So the song is singing to say that you're
Life can take our breath away. Tragedy can leave a wake. A broken heart will never be the same. Pain can stop us in our tracks. Losing what we can't get back. Shaking the foundations of our faith. And no matter what's in my way, no matter the battles I face, you are still my God. You're still my hope. You're still my peace. You're still my joy. You're all I need. You're still my strength when I am weak. You're still my God. I still believe. You are still my God. You're still my rock, my only hope, Lord. You're all I've got. In every valley or mountaintop, I say hallelujah. You're still my God. You're still my peace. You're still my joy. You're all I need. You're still my strength when I am weak. You're still my God. I still believe. You're still my God. You're still my God.
Yeah, you're still my God. I was taking you for a tour of my altar. I hope I actually showed you my altar. This is our end prayer for tonight. It is impossible to see two worlds. Let me accept the strength God offers me and see no value in this world, that I may find freedom and deliverance. So amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you again next Thursday. The donation basket can be passed to you by clicking on the contact button, and that'll take you to the website. And there you can make a donation if you so choose to. It's really great to be here. I love Thursdays because I get to be with you, and I love you. God bless you. See you soon.